Hi everyone, my name is Jeff. Glass weaving. There seems to be a little bit of mystery how this is achieved, and today I hope I can demystify that for you. Now I know some of you have been waiting for this, so I'm hoping I meet your expectations. Welcome to Rocket Rose Art. Today the subject is glass weaving. You've seen it around and you've probably been very mystified as to how it's done. But it's like most things in glass fusing. The technique is quite simple. The end result looks difficult, but it's not. Now, glass weaving, as you've seen it, is much like a lot of things that you make in glass fusing. It can be draped in molds, over formers. You can even cut it up actually and sort of assemble it into other pieces, and it can be wall art, which is probably the most common thing that I've seen with glass weaving. Now I'm hoping I can demystify this a little bit for you today. Like most things in the glass fusing, or in glass fusion I should say, is that the final piece really comes down to your creativity. It's what you apply to it and the little sort of differences that you add to it. And I've seen that in glass weaving. I've seen where people have used stringers and what's the word I'm trying to think about? Well, you've got dichro strips woven through the pieces. Vitrograph, even lengths of vitrograph woven through the piece. So there's different things that you can do to make it unique to you, I suppose. But the technique itself is really not that hard. Like all things, the firing schedule that you use is probably the most difficult, getting that right. But as long as you pay attention to your firing schedule and keep watching it, you'll be fine. Anyway, if you liked the video, please hit that like button for me. If you've got any questions I haven't covered, ask them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. So the first thing, like in all my projects, is we have to deal with the materials, equipment, and a bit of information about the design. The glass I'm using here today is Bullseye 90 COE as normal. I don't use 96, so any firing schedules I'll give you, just make sure you adjust for whatever glass you're using. I'll be using boron nitride on things when I slump, and I use thin fire paper when I'm doing things like full fuse. All you'll need today as far as special equipment is something like these rods here to slump your strips over. So this is what we're trying to achieve in the final result, which is something that looks like it's all been woven together. Now this is using thinner strips than I'm going to use today, but I'm just trying to show you the basic process today. So the first thing we've got to do is we have to create something like these. If I can pick them up. That's these little wavy strips. And the reason we want to create them, and we're going to do that over these formers here, is that once you've created your strips, the whole concept is you lay these all up and you thread other strips of glass through the channels that these curves make. So you slump all these to make them, and then you can either offset them like that to make channels, as you can see, or you can just turn every second one over. I can just hold this right to make channels, as you can see there. So the idea is we're going to take all of these little formers here, we're going to lay them up on a shelf, and then we're going to take our glass strips, lay them across, and then slump them so that the strips slump in between each of the formers. And this is what we're trying to achieve. Try and explain this. These are our formers. We're going to put strips along the top and as we slump it, they'll slump down in between the formers. Now what we've got to do is we've got to slump them down enough so that every second one is, say, turned over, the second one will come along and look like that. This is when we're laying it up, of course, and we've got enough room in here to slide through the pieces of or the strips of glass that we want to. So the width of these strips is important when it comes to determining the width between the formers. So I'm using 12 by 12 millimeter formers. They're stainless steel, and they're just a tube that I've cut up into different lengths. And I'm going to place them up about 20 mils between them. And I've come up with 20 mils, because the strips I'm going to put through here are 10 mils wide. This glass, of course, is 3 mils, so I'm going to have at least 3 mils either side, and I'm going to allow a little bit of margin, so of another 4 mils, so that's how I've come up with my 20 mils. So I'm going to have to slump these enough, just so I get enough distance between there and the width to slide the other strips through. Now when I do put these on my shelf, I'll be spacing them 20. I've made these little guides here. They're just out of thick cardboard, and I'll be laying those up between each of the strips here. I'll give you an example. You'll see this in the final thing anyway. So that's my guide when I lay them up on the shelf, so I can then place the glass across them, and then once I've got it all laid up, I just pull them out, and that's why they've got a little turned up edge. And of course you don't put them in too far. Actually, I had them in too far. You just put them in enough to be spaces so you can get at those and pull them out easy. I will be putting these on thin fire paper on my shelf, because the stainless steel sometimes can stain the shelves. So to protect my shelves, I'll use just a piece of thin file paper. By the way, the stainless steel rod here, I just purchased that from a local dealer, and I think it came in a 2 metre length, and then I just cut it up into the lengths that I needed. If you are going to do this and make your formers out of stainless steel, once you've cut it up, make sure you do fire it in the kiln up to about 800 degrees, just to burn off any oils or anything that may still be on the glass after the manufacturing. I also vent the kiln up to about 500 degrees just to vent off any fumes. You can see here I've got the formers all laid up on the kiln shelf. They're on a piece of thin file paper. I've got all my spaces along here, and all the formers have been sprayed with boron nitride. So now I've just got to lay up all my strips. So I'll do that and then I'll come back. You can see now I've laid all the strips up, just enough space so that they're not touching. I haven't worried about straightening the edges because I really don't want them all looking nice and uniform, so that when we do the final piece there'll be a little bit irregular on the edges. The spaces are still along in between the formers. These have all been cleaned, and now I've just got to take out all of those spaces and get it into the kiln. Just take them out like that. Okay, hopefully that'll all work, and I'll show you tomorrow morning. Oops, guess what? It was late last night when all this was going on, and I estimated how long I needed to hold, and I overdid it a little bit. You can see that they've been slumped just a bit more than I really needed to slump them. I don't think it's going to be a problem though. So now I've got to decide on the pattern I want to use on these. I've used nice bright colours. I won't lay them up like that. I may alternate them or something like that. And then we'll put all our strips in. I think I'm just going to turn each second one over and do it that way rather than offset them like that. So I think I'll just turn every second one over and then put my strips through. So I still have to decide on the colour of my strips as well yet. Something I do need to mention is that I use boron nitride, and you can see there's a very small mark in there which is on the edge of the former. I haven't used square formers before. I've used round formers, so I used rods, but in this case here I use squares. So it's probably because I just had it on too long and it's left a small mark there. It's mainly on there. You can just sort of see it a little bit in those plots. I don't think it's going to matter, because once that's all in place, that'll all fuse in. But something you could do instead of using boron nitride is to use thin file paper, which I've seen done quite commonly. Boron nitride is just easier and also less mess to clean up. And you'll see in the firing schedule that because there's not much distance between the formers, you will need to take your temperature up to a reasonable temperature for the slump and hold it quite a while, because it does take a while for that to slump. And that's mainly because where the glass sits on the top of the formers, there's not a lot of distance there, and there's not a lot of weight in there, so really the glass has got to soften quite well before it will drop under gravity. That should do it. Now I'll get on and I'll assemble all this. So I've decided on the pattern I want to use, and I'm going to maintain that pattern in the side strips as well. So it's just about an hour. And I've gone through and turned every second one over. So now it's just a matter of inserting all my strips. There you go, it's all done now, ready to go in the kiln for a tack fuse, and tomorrow morning we'll see how it comes out. Here we are, it's out of the kiln, it's all done, and I'm not slumping this or anything today. I've decided that I'll just leave it as it is, so it'll be put on the wall as a piece of wall art, or maybe in a stand. Tell me in the comments what you think, just a little bit about it. I'll try and show you. You can see the texture in there and how it's all come together. You can see how each piece has slumped over the others. What else can I show you? Anyway, I'll just give you a good look at that. And the other thing I'll do is show you that compared to another piece here. You can see very different in size. This one had 10mm strips. This one had only 6mm strips. Got a more open weave in this, much tighter weave in this one. And that's because the technique that I use for this is a little different to this one. I just use different formers and lay it up slightly differently. This one was overfused. It was just a little bit too much, so that the you can see they've really fused down onto each other. Whereas this one, things are like here, you can see where it's a little proud, this little white yellow strip here. I prefer it this way to this, but under some circumstances I prefer this in some pieces, especially pieces where I'm draping it into a mold, slumping it into a mold, or draping it over a former. I'll learn to talk properly one day. Anyway, I think it's turned out really well. Tell me what you think in the comments. Now keep in mind that the formers you use for this, you don't have to buy. You can make them. And in fact, I would suggest you do make them because it gives you more flexibility, such as in the length and so forth, so you can fit it into your kiln. So consider buying some material and making them yourself. As I asked before, if you liked the video, please hit the like button. Any questions I haven't covered, ask them in the comments section below. And until the next video, I'll say bye for now.